Alright. Time for another game review. I know it's been a while since I've done one of these on this channel. Well, on both my channels, really. But anyways, this game is actually kind of interesting because I originally thought that I already reviewed it, but looking through the playlist and through my videos, I found, what the fuck, I never reviewed it. So, here we go. This game is inFAMOUS 2. A few months back I reviewed the first inFAMOUS game. This game right here was released in 2011, late 2011, roughly 2 years after the first. And although it only takes place only like a couple months after the first, like a month or two after the first. And there is a comic that was released in between too, that's right. Just like Sucker Punch did with their Sly Cooper series, where they released a comic in between the first and the second, and then in between the second and the third. And I think there might be other comics for that, I'm not sure though. They released a comic in between the first and the second inFAMOUS game, basically filling in some of the missing backstory and storyline and whatnot. I have not yet read that, although I would love to. Alright, so it may be better explained if that happens. I hear stuff about Moya and whatnot's explained, and more stuff about the First Sons, which I only know briefly about. And also, it's obviously set up for this game. Alright, and the story of this game follows immediately afterwards as well. You know, Cole has defeated Kessler, but has learned the truth about Kessler. That Kessler is basically Cole from the future, alright? And in Kessler's timeline, a beast has arrived. And that's confusing. Kessler, putting his feelings before his duty as a superhero, took his family and fled, leaving others to fend for themselves, and eventually the rest of the world went to hell, and I suppose his family actually died as well. Alright? Family and friends and everything. So then he went into the past to basically prepare Cole for the beast's coming. Alright, and apparently he failed because the beast arrives at the very beginning of the game. Yes, there's a boss fight with the beast at the beginning of the game. I don't care if I spoil this for you because A, my reviews are never spoiler free, and B, it happens at the very fucking beginning. Okay? And you lose. Like, you fight him, but you lose. Okay? And then everyone flees, including Cole, while Empire City is completely destroyed off the map. Okay? Yeah. So, yeah, it's completely destroyed off the map. And after that, they head to New Marais because I believe this will probably end up being more clear if you read the comic, but a couple months after Kessler's defeat, Cole met a woman named Lucy Quo, who's apparently from the NSA, the National Security National Security Association. And apparently, somehow she knew all about the beast. In fact, she had come to help him prepare. Claimed her friend Dr. Wolf had worked on the Wraith Sphere prototype, and that she could amplify his powers to help fight the beast. Too bad it showed up off schedule. That being said, once they get to New Marais, they find Dr. Wolf, and he talks about reveals a device he created known as the RFI, or the Ray Field Inhibitor, which basically works like an anti-ray sphere, okay? Instead of taking powers, it gives them away. So once Cole had fired up completely, he could use it to reduce the beast's powers. I'm not sure if it would. Actually, yes, it would, because at the end of the good ending, right? So yeah, it would kill the beast for him. Simple as that. But he needed to power it up. To do that, he would collect these purplish glowing crystals known as blast cores. In the first game, you collect blast shards to get enough blast cores to increase your electricity, and you do that in this game too. I'll talk about that in a second. But these crystals are known as blast cores as well, and you use the blast. Once Cole surges his electricity through the blast cores, he'll power up, and that's how in this game how you get more power. It's not running through sewers. Kind of sad because That's one of my main complaints about this game is I loved the sewer missions in the first game, and they're not present here. Instead, you just use the blast cores to get new powers. But at least you get new powers, though. Another thing is that, good thing you get new powers, because at the beginning of the game, you lose a lot of your powers. Not all of them, but you still lose quite a bit of them because of the beast's attack on Cole. So, you get all, but you end up getting all the powers you lost back, plus many more to compensate, which is really good. Right, however, not too far into the game, Wolf dies. And so you basically have to press on ahead. Right, New Marais, which is a takeoff of New Orleans, is a huge city. I believe it's supposed to be way huger than Empire City was in the first game. And it's basically a haven for, or well, the guy who runs it is, name is Joseph Bertrand III, who is a huge religious homophobe, really. And he controls his military of New Marais, known as the militia, which holds their reign over New Marais. However, secretly, he's also a conduit with the power to turn into a giant beast, okay? And he's secretly been creating swamp creatures known as the Corrupted. So those are the second minor enemies of the game. And the third minor enemies of the game are guys with ice powers, and they're forced conduits. Most of them are probably people who weren't naturally conduits, but they had powers literally forced onto them by Bertrand. And in order to maintain his hold over the city, he's basically pitted all three of those against each other. Alright, another interesting thing is that Quo, who sticks with you throughout your entire adventure is actually a conduit too, and she gets powers forced onto her by Bertrand, giving her ice powers as well. There's also another character you meet in this game called Nyx, who apparently Bertrand activated the Ray Sphere on himself in Empire City at one point, and she got caught in the blast, which unleashed her powers. She has like Nephilim powers, or whatever the fuck it's called. You know, it's basically fire powers. That's basically what it is, alright? And, yeah, so that's basically the story of this game. You're heading through Empire City, trying to track down Bertrand so that he can help you. Well, you just want to take him down. But you're also trying to get more powers for Cole so that you can defeat the Beast, of course, at the end of the game. And however, there's such a huge plot twist at the end of the game. I'm still debating if I'm going to say what it is or not, but the morality choices are still in this game from the second game as well. But they're, like, it's way more involving in this game because, I mean, depending on which route you choose, it'll completely alter the fucking ending. Utterly, completely, yeah. And the first game it didn't. This game it really does. Okay, you know, Nyx is shown for the majority of the game as the evil one, and Quo as the good one, okay? Although they're both helping you, Nyx isn't evil like she's trying to kill you. Alright, if you choose to side with her, basically, it's good, or it's evil. And if you side with Quo, it's good. Except for the final choice, in which, okay, I'll reveal it, fuck it. Basically, it was said that the RFI, when Cole tried to activate it, it almost killed them, because it wasn't just designed to kill the Beast, it was designed to kill all conduits, and he didn't tell him that. Alright. So basically, Cole has to make the choice. Does he side with Nyx, who, because the Beast killed all her swamp creatures, yes, she owns swamp creatures by this point too now, she wants the Beast dead, but see, the thing is, the Beast beforehand actually confronted Cole as John White, because the Beast is John White. I guess his powers were revealed when he was sucked into the race sphere near the end of the first game. Alright, and basically he's lost all hope in humanity, and he's trying to destroy humanity to pave way for an entire world full of conduits. Okay? And he wanted Cole to help him. If you side with Nyx, you're fighting the Beast head on. If you side with Quo actually, for risk of dying, she actually wants to help John. Probably a bit of selfishness in the sense that they were once good friends in the NSA as well, but yeah. So if you side with Quo at that point, that'll be evil, because you'll actually be destroying humanity to pave way for conduits. That's where it kind of splits. And it gets way fucking different. So, yeah. Now, I have played through both times, and both of them are really good, although I prefer the, well, I don't know which ending I prefer, honestly. Both of them are really good, you know. If you side with Nyx, or if you side with Quo, the final boss will actually be Nyx. You'll have to fight her a few times, and she'll actually be the final fight. If you side with Nyx, you'll actually have to fight Quo like a couple times, but the Beast, of course, will be the final fight before you activate the race. You're killing all conduits, including Cole himself, in which Zeke narrates the final animated cutscene. Alright, that's basically the plot of this game. It's way better than the original, and so was the soundtrack too. I just gotta mention that really quickly. The soundtrack of this game is phenomenally better than the first. Except for the credit song. I prefer the credit song in the first game better than the credit song in this game, but the credit song in this game is still really fucking good. For everything it's worth, okay? In terms of the gameplay, it's also been enhanced tremendously. For Melee this time around, instead of your fists and feet and occasionally your head for Melee, you actually have this cool little thing called an amp, which is something that Zeke made. Okay? And the amp, the amp's used for Melee, and it improves it tremendously. You even have finishers now with the amp. Alright, in addition to that, you also have ionic powers, which are basically huge powers. Like, for example, the lightning storm from the first game comes back, but it's an ionic power. There's also the ionic freeze, which is a good power. If you side with Quo at a certain point, you'll get the ionic freeze, and you'll get the ionic drain from Nyx if you side with her at a certain point, which is an evil power. And the first one you get is called the Ionic Vortex, which, well, it's a giant fucking tornado. So yeah, it's going to be used for evil deeds. But yeah. And to get these ionic powers at a certain point in the game, actually pretty quickly, you'll have to pick up these ionic charges, which you can power up enough to where you'll be able to hold 3 at a time, although when you first get them, you'll be able to hold just 1 at a time. 1, then 2, then 3, of course. And yeah, so that's improved. And in terms of the actual side content, it's here as well. You know, you have, like, I believe actually more blast shards than in the first game. I believe the first game's number of blast shards was like 350 or something, and in this game I believe it's actually more. I could be wrong though. To increase how much energy you can store at once, and you also have a shit ton of side missions. You have the generic yellow side missions, which are basically neutral. The only evil or good you'll be doing in it is what you attempt to do. Not what you have to do. There's the red side missions, which are the evil ones, and the blue side missions, which are the good ones. Some of the evil and good side missions will be done with actual characters who will be done by themselves, or with actual waypoints, or with like cops or junkies or whatnot. But some of the good ones will actually be done with Quo, and some of them will actually be done with Nyx, which is really cool. Another thing is how much there is to explore in this game. All right, each area of this game isn't really named like it was in the first game. You know, with the Neon District, the Warren, and the Historic District. But This game, you start on one island, and you go over to, what I believe they call, like, Flood Town or something. I'm not sure. I don't think they named the first island, though. And attached to that island is, I forget what it's called, but you basically go by powering on and using your Tesla missiles and everything else. And it's really confusing to explain. You just have to play the game yourself in order to find out. But they enhanced so much of this game, but there is problems. Like I said before, I wish that they would have kept the sewer missions in this game. I thought they were really fucking fun in the first. And also, like, this is a problem I mentioned with the first. Although it is better, it still could use some improvement if they plan on making a third game. I complained, when I did my review of the first game, I complained about the stealth. Okay. Yeah, I complained about the stealth because I'm used to playing stealth games like Sly Cooper, where the controls are really smooth and fluid. Okay. And in the first game, they were not. The controls were very rough. You'll find those types of controls in games like Uncharted as well, and you're trying to be stealthy and it just doesn't fucking work. It's way too difficult and it's just not fun to be stealthy in conditions like that. Then you have this game, which I'm going to admit it improved quite a bit on the stealth. It did, but there still has a way to go. It's a lot easier for stealth. It makes it more fun, but it's still nowhere near to the fluency that Sly Cooper is. And to me, that's kind of disappointing. If they make a third game, it should be damn near to the fluency of Sly Cooper. I'm serious here. But it was way more fun to play in the first game than it is in this game, okay? The other problem I have with this game is the frickin' players' content, or whatever the fuck they call it. Now, it's not that let me be perfectly clear here. It's not that I hate players' content, you know, where the actual player of the game gets to design their own side missions. I don't hate that. Oh, and I've actually seen some that were actually I thought were actually pretty fun. But the thing is, I've still never got why a company does that, because like I said, I've had some that were fun, but the vast majority of them were steaming piles of goat shit, because, you know, the people usually don't put a single bit of time or effort into making them. That's why if I made a game, I would be incredibly reluctant to put something like that in the game, because, you know, I mean, now as of now, it's been over a year, I believe, since the game actually came out, or damn near close to a year at least, and you're starting to find a lot more really good, or at least passable, players' content, side missions, because it's been out for a while, and a lot better fan designers are actually coming to PSN to make them, okay? So that's the thing. But like when it first came out, like, there were some good ones, like I just said, but the majority of them were fucking terrible, because they're generally made by someone who's just whipping a mission together really quickly, not putting any thought to it whatsoever, not putting any time or effort into it, and it just turns out terrible. Alright, so that's basically my problem with the first game. That's basically my problem with the players' content. You know, it's not a terrible aspect, it's just something that made it really that's really frustrating at times. That's the best way to describe it, is just frustrating. Another thing that I kind of didn't like I feel need to mention it, because like most people, I didn't like it at first. It's not the same now, though. It's that Cole's new voice. I didn't like it at first, because I'd kind of, you know, been used to the old Cole voice. But as of now, that's not really a complaint, though, because as of now, I kind of grown on this voice for Cole. I really have. So yeah, to me, this is Cole McGrath. But anyways, though, so I've been talking here for over 20 minutes now. But I guess that's it for this review. So what's my final rating of Infamous 2? Well, if you watch my top 10 games of all time list on my other channel, it popped up at, I think, either number 2 or 3. Yeah. And I stick to that too. This is an amazing game. I had so much fun with it. I love all of Sucker Punch's games, but this one to me is just speaks of incredibleness that no Sucker Punch game ever has since Sly 2 Band of Thieves. I'm not even joking, which is still my favorite game of all time. That's why I'm giving this game right here a 9.5 out of 10. Now, my rating scales are very strict. I don't usually give a game that high, but you know what, screw that, 9 out of 10, but still, this game, 9 out of 10, this game is still fucking awesome. I highly recommend it to anyone who's a fan of this style of game, or don't really know if they're a fan of this style of game and really like to get into it. I feel this is a great way to start. It's a really fun game with an epic storyline, some epic cutscenes, and the only word that can properly describe it is just pure fucking unbridled epic fun. So, yeah, 9 out of 10. That's my rating for this game. See you after, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.